As North India grapples with the ever-worsening cold wave, reports of train and flight cancellations are making the headlines. The situation is particularly concerning when it comes to air travel. Passengers have been left stranded at airports from anywhere between 5 to 13 hours due to flight delays. Additionally, some passengers have also faced a route shock while finding out that their flights have eventually been cancelled. These issues have been persisting for a while now, and people are expressing their frustration on social media. This is not all. Some people are even turning violent. A video showing an Indigo Airlines passenger attacking a flight captain has gone viral on social media. The extended delay of the Indigo Delhi-Goa flight triggered shocking scenes of physical violence aboard the Airbus A20N parked at the Indira Gandhi International Airport for over 10 hours. Well, we all, of course, know about road rage, but it seems that air rage is now boiling over. Joining us at this point to discuss this further is Sumit Peer, political commentator. Group Captain V.N. Jha, former Joint Director DRDO, joins us live. Group Captain U.K. Devnath, former Indian Air Force officer, is live with us. Sudhanshu Mani, Railways expert, is also joining us live as well. Let me make a start with you first. Group Captain Devnath, on what really is causing this kind of disruptive behavior by air passengers getting unruly. How can this peak out?
Uday, very surprising and rather sad event which took place. It should never have happened. I pray to all the passengers that they must cooperate with the captain and the crew of the aircraft. The flight was delayed 10 hours plus, sometimes 13 hours. Passengers who are very learned and esteemed guests of any airline. We request them always that kindly bear with us, and in case you have any problem, kindly approach the pilot, the captain well in advance. All the flight crew are trained to handle passengers who are in a good frame of mind. Unfortunately, in this case, a very surprising development that this happened shouldn't have happened. Having said that, I give the passenger certain amount of maneuvering space. Probably he was very annoyed. Anyone who is inside an aircraft up to 12-13 hours will be annoyed. And what he should do is that keep calm, talk to other passengers. In this instance, now as per Civil Aviation Ministry rules, DGCA guidelines, the crew has no other option than to calm the passenger. If required, use physical force to over control the passenger and hand him over to the civil police. Unfortunately, that leads to more delay because now not only the passenger has to be handed over to the civil police at aerodrome, but pilot, the captain and the crew have to go and lodge an FIR because they have to give a witness. So entire thing goes out of control. My request to the passengers is that this happens every year in December and January. Kindly bear with the airline and talk to the captain well before the safety lid blows up. Yes, Uday.
All right, let me bring in Sumit Peer, as a citizen voice on this broadcast. Sumit, understandably, of course, air passengers are very upset. Their flights are getting cancelled, their flights are getting diverted, their flights are getting massively delayed. Very often, SOPs are not being followed. I think finally today, the DGCA and the Aviation Ministry have issued SOPs now and issued specific guidelines. Hopefully, the airlines will follow that. But, citizens are clearly very, very upset. Now, that does not condone violence, but clearly citizens are pretty upset. We've been seeing that over the last few days, Sumit.
Uday, thanks for having me on your show. Unfortunately, at December end to January end, we have this fiasco in Delhi because it is driven by the weather. It is not an airline's mistake, neither it's a passenger's mistake. We have seen dense fog, and even when you travel abroad, Uday, there are blizzards, there are snowstorms, there are eventualities. I have been in JFK for 48 hours because the flights don't take off. I have been in Charles de Gaulle for 2 nights, and even the heating does not work in American airports beyond the time. In the evening, heating does not work. So we have seen those scenarios when it's a blizzard or when it's a storm or something like the flights don't take off. But in no situation whatsoever, whatever the reason is, you cannot go and hit the pilot. You cannot tell him, "Bhai, chalna hai, chal, nahi to mat chal." I mean, it is not a question of your chalna hai, nahi chal. It's the question of the people who are there. Their lives are at stake. Even the life of pilot is at stake. And we are talking of a multi-million dollar asset, which is at stake. And there are 300, 400 lives at stake. If you are agitated, if you are irritated, you can say, I want to cancel my flight. I want to go and I don't want to go through this flight. Let me go back to the airline or get me alternate flight. That part of SOP and all is fine. But even for the airlines, I have one advice. When you know it is going to be a 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour delay, there's no point of keeping people in the aeroplane. If you know it's beyond that time, move them back to the to the airport, wherein they can have access to the washrooms, they can have access to some hot food, they can have access to some hot beverages. But in no way whatsoever, whatever the situation is, you cannot go and start hitting the people. You cannot hit the pilot. Pilot is doing his job. He's trying to protect his life. He's trying to protect your life. You might want to risk your life. I am in that flight. I may not want to risk my life. But there should be SOPs wherein they should, okay, beyond this time, the people have to be boarded. Beyond this time, you have to give them compensation. No, those all things are okay. I'm all for SOPs, but I 101% condemn any kind of violence, any kind of thing against the aircraft crew, any kind of violence against the, air hostess and the captains. No, it's not like that. Then what is the difference between us and uncivilized people? We can't go and start hitting the pilots. I mean, when you get stranded in an airport in, let's say, a US or a France or a Germany, then how do you bear with it? I mean, you bear with it, you live with it. But how come we are getting here this while, and whether this attitude come chalna hai to chal, nahi to mat chal. I mean, come on, yaar. Even you cannot talk that to a taxi driver. Taxi driver bhi bolega utar ja. Bhai utar ja niche. But these people are nice. They are decent. They are, sabhe log pade likhe. You can't go and hit them for the sake of God. You can't hit the captain. I mean, that is completely unacceptable. And whoever person has done it, being a civilian voice, I would still recommend he should be permanently banned from flying, because violence and all has no end. Uday, if it starts happening, if a road rage becomes a air rage kind of a thing, then if tomorrow 5 people go and start hitting the poor captain, who's going to save him? What are you going to do? Then tomorrow somebody might do it in mid-air, and then somebody might just say, okay, the washroom is not clean, or I didn't get my chicken sandwich, I will go and hit somebody. I mean, it can't be acceptable. I mean, nobody tolerates this, especially in aeroplanes where there is life of so many people at risk. If there's a dense fog with zero visibility, I cannot take off. I have been on Delhi airport, Uday. I mean, all the flights, all the international flights have got cancelled. So what do you expect me to do? I had connecting flights, but they got cancelled. It's weather. It's act of God. I cannot control it. I cannot say anybody, bhai le jao. Even if Prime Minister Modi has to take up that night, he won't be even able to take up. Forget he's the Prime Minister of the country. If the weatherman does not allow his flight to take off, do you think the Prime Minister can take off? No. Do you think the Raksha Mantri can take up? No. So even I cannot take up. So where does this rage come in? How will hitting a pilot or a captain make a difference? What are you trying to prove a point? This vagabond approach is not acceptable. SOPs and all are fine. Passengers should be taken care of. They should not be kept in aeroplane for hours, but in no situation whatsoever, there should is even an iota of space for violence, abuse, and forget physical violence and attack. No, that is not acceptable in a civilized society. Uday.
Yes, it certainly isn't. Group Captain Jha, what sort of regulations now are needed? What sort of SOPs are now needed? How can incidents like this be curbed? But also, on the other hand, how can the traffic and disruptions be better managed?
Well, Uday, Sumit has hinted on some aspects. Where lay the answers? Look, whenever this sort of thing happens, and this happens every year, absolutely, it happens every year. There are conditions when the fog create a zero visibility conditions, and you can do nothing about it. There comes the role of the aircraft management, the company management. If it is Indigo, they should lay a clear-cut instructions to the passengers, give an option that we are not sure when the aircraft will take off after initially waiting for an hour or two. Give this option to the passengers. We are not sure how long it will take for the fog to clear off. So in case anyone wants to cancel their flight, look for some alternative, please go ahead. Give this option to the passenger and then let them decide. And of course, other things what he mentioned is that if it is delayed beyond a couple of hours, please do take care of the passengers. We have had the complimentary breakfast, complimentary lunch, complimentary dinner. One day we got stuck at some airport, and then we were made to stay in the 3-star, 5-star hotels. So those are the compliments that the airlines provide. But here is a case when the passenger has hit the pilot. There is no business for any passenger to interact onto this issue. Airline is the one. To some extent, some of the pilots, they cooperate with the airline and communicate with the passengers, with their guests. But that communication with the guest, that interaction with the guest, must not lead to this situation of being assaulted. Listen, when you assault a captain of an aircraft, his mental faculty is deranged. He is no more a normal pilot. If he takes off with that aircraft, other 280 passengers, their life gets at stake. It is not a simple thing. So that passenger may be banned for the life or may be put into jail, and he will come out subsequently. But these are the things which DGCA also lay a hint. What should be the act of the company in case such things happens? There are SOPs about this, and then it is supposed to be acting there. But look, what is happening here in India is there is an immense competition between the airlines. The moment you leave, give this option, company feels that all passengers will escape. They will migrate to the other thing and they will be in the losses. They keep on delaying knowingly. And that is where these companies, these airlines are also to be blameworthy about it. And of course, pilot will be in the conditions where he has to prove his case, or he has to put the case both to the police, to the DGCA, and blah blah blah. Pilot is not supposed to be getting into all these situations. His role is get into the aircraft, do the checks, take control of the aircraft, fly to the destination, and again do the checks and park the aircraft there. That is his job. This is not a job running around to the police, running around to the DGCA, and in this case, he has to do all this, and that is unfortunate. So I absolutely concur with both Grupi Devnath and Sumit that there is absolutely no condoning of this passenger or any other passenger in future. If someone assaults the pilot, it is absolutely unpardonable. That passenger should be put into the lock. There should be a separate sort of rules and regulations be created for such situations when the pilots are being hit, because you are putting other 280 passengers' life on the stake, because the passengers' mental faculty will be no longer as normal as it was supposed to be earlier. So I concur with all these views, and this must be avoided at all conditions. Uday.
Yes, let me bring in Sudhanshu Mani as well at this point, because Sudhanshu Mani, the surge in air traffic is not just the surge in traffic rather is not just restricted to air; it is restricted also to rail. How can things be better managed at airports, at railway stations, where the weather at this time of year does cause delays? I mean, on a daily basis, there are multiple trains which are running late, multiple flights which are cancelled, diverted. And delayed as well. How can things be better managed to ensure that passengers, are not ill-treated? But yet, of course, passengers also need to, maintain their decorum, not get violent. We often seen incidents at railway stations as well, and now, of course, on flights too.
Thanks for inviting me. Of course, you have two experts from the aviation domain, so I should not speak about what happens at airports or in airplanes, except that, as everyone said, violence is absolutely inexcusable, whatever be the provocation, and law must take its own course. Now, I'll talk about trains and railway stations. So, fog disturbing running of trains because they slow down badly, is nothing new. It's been happening all along. The question is now, has the technology been adopted to minimize the problem? So that's where we have to work more. You see, for a train, there are two things which are important. One is visibility for the signals, sighting of signals, and then, of course, visibility for lookout of obstructions. So signal is, of course, of paramount importance. and obstructions as well, especially in the areas where you can have landslide or boulders falling down on the track. So we have an indigenous developed system. You have heard of Kavach, which is a very versatile system, and it's unique in the world, and it's one-fourth the cost of similar systems in the world, developed by Indian engineers. But the deployment is not at all taking at a good pace because Kavach provides you signals right in the cab. There is no dependence on sighting of the signal with naked eye, number one. Number two, it also provides you protection against another train which could lead to a collision. It may not provide protection against boulders or obstructions, but that is very rare in certain areas only, and it may not provide protection against animals or human beings on the track. In any case, trains have a right of way. So, first thing is this technology of Kavach, which is being talked about for so long, should be number one priority for railways, not only for fog, but safety as such. And railways should really focus on this area strongly. And as far as management, I won't add much except that obvious measures to keep the passengers informed. See, all the frustration comes when the passengers are informed in dribs and drabs or not informed at all. In this case, I don't know if I heard it correctly. If this agitated passenger was in the plane for 12 hours, I can't believe that. Must have been less. I don't know. If it was 12 hours, anybody would get agitated. I don't believe it was 12 hours. So, good information system to keep the passengers informed. Everyone understands that in a fog situation, there is only so much airlines or railways can do. So that is something I would point out, that a better management of informing the passengers in time is important.
Yes, obviously passengers, yes, need to be informed, ahead of time. Now, there are some guidelines which have come in today from the Aviation Ministry. How do you react to those guidelines, Group Captain Devnath? Do you believe they're adequate? What more can the regulators do, to obviously issue directions to airlines and airports on what needs to be followed?
Oh yes, Uday, there is a lot of scope for improvement. To start with, it starts with providing infrastructure. In many countries in Europe, where bad weather, poor visibility conditions may take place throughout the year, what they do is, in addition to having one arrival and departure area, they also have what is called a holding area. See, difficulty is, Uday, suppose a passenger or group of passengers there is a delay and they want to deboard or they want to get down from the aircraft. The normal instructions are that they cannot go back to the departure lounge, because departure lounge already is busy with next lot of passengers. So they are taken primarily from arrival lounge, and again they have to go back through the entire process of check-in of their baggage, and then security check, and then again arrive through departure lounge into the aircraft. This cycle takes anything from 1 hour to 2 hours. Now, what many countries have done, that instead of deboarding them in and putting them through this long process of 1 to 2 hours check-in of luggage and security clearance, after deboarding in some countries, the passengers are taken to a holding area where they are kept in holding area, and they are given say some light refreshment till the time the aircraft can again take off. But that needs an infrastructural change. The entire terminal design has to be made like that. It takes time. In India, it is not a very frequent phenomena. Now, what Civil Aviation Ministry can do is to lay down, with the help, DGCA can do is to, with the help of airlines, make a policy wherein if some passenger, especially passengers who are old, who are sick, who are passengers with very small children, because small children tend to get restless after a few hours, and some passengers are obviously say claustrophobic. So if there is an arrangement made to deboard them, then quickly they must be taken out and given an opportunity, obviously they cannot go by another airline because all the airlines are in a waiting list to take off. So they cannot switch at that time to another airline. They have to go back home. So that opportunity, that process, that SOP can be developed. Yes, airline will have to refund the money. Airlines may think that it may lead to a revenue loss. That is part of the game in this season. Yes, Uday?
Yes, also, Group Captain Jha, perhaps more training of pilots, perhaps, better equipping of pilots with the skills of landing in this kind of weather is also needed. More equipped runways which have capability of CAT, of fog landing as well. Systems obviously need to be upgraded and identified, particularly in bigger cities of the country, isn't it, Group Captain Jha?
Absolutely. Look, there are various grades of airports. There are various grades of pilots for their landing requirements. These categorizations are already there. We have got the ILS, instrument landing system, where the aircraft can be taken to almost zero visibility conditions of landing, where the aircraft is taken to almost nearly 2 meters short of the runway, and then pilot assumes the control. But then you need that visibility, whether it is 100 meters or 200 meters, because at that speeds, you need the visibility for the aircraft to control on the landing roll. But look here, this is the case where there was a runway, Delhi runway, which was under the fog, where from the aircraft had to take off, but the landing was in Goa, where I'm sure the visibility must have been acceptable for the landing in most of the time of the year. So in these conditions, the fogs are usually in the patches. I really have some sympathy for the air traffic control as well, because when there is a wind going on there, some of the fogs are getting blown. And then that is the hope for the pilot, that within those periods, when the fog is getting blown off, visibility improves from 0 to say 200 meters or 300 meters. They are put into the taxi and they take off from that place. The moment they take off, then it is, they are care of the destination runway where the visibility is fine. So that must have been some sort of glimmer of hope here in this case also, where the pilot would have been told by air traffic control that, okay, now visibility is 50 meters, now it is 20 meters, it has dipped down to 10 meters. That hope for the improvement that is kept alive. That is how people are kept into the aircraft. But as Grupi Devnath again mentioned, that elderly lot, children, and again I repeat, when you have got the uncertainty of the takeoff, please do inform the people who want to go to the holding area. Holding area, of course, is not there. But from the departure area, surely you can take them to the departure area or some other place which is security cleared. They have been cleared by security. Now they can't interact with other people. So that should be there, and give that option to the passengers. Keep passengers informed. This is the job of the airlines. Airline management cannot shun their responsibility here. Even if someone wants to get the ticket cancelled and go back, give them that option. I can't help it. Please go ahead. Cancel your ticket. So these are the things to be done. But then pilot have got a limitation. If it is a zero visibility condition, he can't take off. He just can't take off in the zero visibility condition. What happens if he slightly wavers off the runway, and then he has an accident? He has to answer that. Neither the air traffic control will clear him, nor he will take that risk. In the civil aviation, no one wants to take these risks. Even in the defense services, Devnath has been a pilot himself. If it is a visibility below minima for his standard, for his rating, he will dare not go to the aircraft and start it up. He will not start the aircraft. He will not dare to take off. So these are the limitations which are there for any airport, any airstrip where you have got the problems of the poor visibility.
All right.
It could be poor visibility, it could be rain passing off, many other conditions are there. So that is the possibility where aircraft or air crew or the airlines must be geared to. Uday.
Okay, let me leave the last word to Sumit Peer on the road ahead.
Uday, there are 2 or 3 things which, our experts have beautifully put it, Jha Saab and Group Captain Saab. I have only 2 or 3 things. First thing is that, when you can create always a holding area. There's enough infrastructure in the Delhi area. For 2 months, you can create a holding area. It will take you 1 working day to create one. Point number two, if you know the people are going to be in an aeroplane holding and waiting for more than 1.5 hour, take them to that holding area, let them have refreshments, let them have access to the washrooms and all. Point number three, give them an option of cancelling their tickets. Of course, the tax won't be refunded, but refund them the basic fare. Last point is that, whenever, there's a situation like this, keep the people informed. Look, this is what is going to happen. This is what is going to take. Let people take their informed decisions. It only happens when people are indefinitely in an aeroplane, when they don't know kitna time lagega, when will it settle. So it's better to get them to a plane wherein they have options of waiting. They're waiting of getting their refund, or holding area and all is no big deal. It can be always created. And we have to all understand, even with Cat 3 and all, there is an X amount of visibility which we need. Forget us, forget defense, forget even the Prime Minister's plane cannot take off. That is a technical limitation. It's beyond the pilot, it's beyond the airline. We have to all appreciate and understand that. And we cannot do anything which risks the lives of 280 people on the board. Nobody has that right to do that. This gundagardi and all, and, chalana chal, this kind of a language is not acceptable. But airline should also have a provision. You don't want to go, I will refund you your money. Thank you very much, sir. We'll take you to the holding area. That is what we can do. But there are limitations when you're flying, Uday. We have to all understand and appreciate that. Let's not make it as a bus station wherein two people are fighting and exchanging blows with the driver. That won't happen in a civilized country like India. It's a very unfortunate thing, and it should have never ever happened again.
All right. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on the broadcast.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.